Hi, and welcome to Conversations and Cocktails. Today's guest is Colleen Carey. She is a fantastic, very strong, amazing woman who performs and produces and acts in and around Seattle and working her way to LA. And if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe to me. Hi, and welcome to Conversations and Cocktails. Today's guest is Colleen Carey. I am very excited. She is a local producer here in Seattle and a performer. And she has chosen a mocktail, and Juan made us, he called it Love at 7:30. And it is grapefruit juice, orange juice, lime juice, grenadine, and a orange twist with some spritz of seltzer water. So cheers to Colleen. Lovely drink. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
I think it's good.
Oh, that's
good.
Quite good.
Juan, you did a good job.
Thank you, Juan.
Yes. So I have known Colleen since 2016 when our husbands came together to look at a project, and we've been hanging out. We were having dinners, and it was fun. It was a fun time. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I have always loved is, as you're producing women's shows, women's Shakespeare shows, that was kind of, I was like blown away. And you're always doing, acting and producing around town. You and your husband both, actually.
Yes.
But yours is a little more serious. You've got kind of the more serious roles, it seems, where he's a little more flamboyant.
Yes.
But I want to hear about you. How did you get into being an actress and producing shows and knowing Shakespeare so well and all the things?
Well, it's been kind of a long journey, actually. My first acting job, I was 5.
Oh.
And I won't say how old I am now. However, it's
been a little while.
A number of decades since I was 5. Yeah, and I did my first commercial for Fidelity Bank, and I did commercials in theater and TV and film from 5 to 14, and then I moved to Los Angeles to study and train, and went to conservatory there, and then in North Carolina, and was acting and producing all the while. But the first time that I quoted Shakespeare was also when I was 5. So the story goes that my mom was sitting in the driver's seat of the car and my brother was sitting in the passenger seat, and she was saying, sometimes people feel the need to tell a lie because they feel shame about something, and it's something that all human beings do and we should forgive. And I was in the back seat playing with my dolls, and I suddenly realized that I knew the perfect quote for this moment, and so I said, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." And both of their heads spun around and just stared at me, and I thought perhaps they hadn't totally understood, and so I clarified by saying, "That's Shakespeare." And I don't know, I guess in that moment and all the way through my life, I just have always felt that Shakespeare's timeless voice has been a wonderful, there are so many wonderful quotations that kind of spring to mind as I walk through my daily life. And I think everyone, I think Shakespeare's poetry lives on. So
now, how do you take it from a male voice to a female voice? Like, how do you cross that bridge?
I'm so glad you asked that question.
Well, yes. It's an important one. I mean, for me as a woman, it's an important one.
Yes.
You're doing more. You're dancing in high heels and backwards.
Yes. Yes, that's true. In the past 3 years, I have done 3 shows in Seattle that that sort of took a different take on Shakespeare. One was Romeo and Juliet, one was Coriolanus, and another one was one that I just finished called Cherubin, which was based really extensively on The Tempest. And I was talking with a dear friend and colleague of mine who wrote Cherubin, and we were talking about what happens when you put Shakespeare's greatest roles, greatest soliloquies in the mouths of women instead of in the mouths of men, is that suddenly they're allowed to have agency. Suddenly they're allowed to have efficacy. It's not about what they are, pretty, smart, diminutive, the good wife, the shrew, but it's about what they can do: hunt, kill, acquire, dominate, govern. So it becomes about subjectifying women instead of objectifying women. And I mean, it's this whole idea of subjectifying versus objectifying. I'm quoting my dear friend Rebecca Torino Collinsworth, but that really is the core of the mission of doing all-female Shakespeare.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
And so when do the women that you're working with as you're producing these shows, are they able to step into being a hunter and the warrior and the...
Yeah, sometimes yes, and sometimes it's like, yes, that sounds great, sign me up, I totally want to do it, and then you come up to this point and there's a moment of fear, like, can I really do this? Or can I really also be soft and vulnerable while I'm grappling with this incredibly difficult ethical choice? And I think one thing, that came out with Coriolanus when we were working with our text coach is that women in a boardroom have a tendency to sort of adopt male traits in order to assert power or dominance. So they become more male in order to get the attention of the room. And that can be in taking on certain postures, it can be in taking on certain vocal patterns, like sitting on your voice instead of letting it out and letting it be free. So literally a female identifying actress stepping into a male role has an idea in the back of their mind that they have to sound like a man. And it's an interesting process to have to unlearn that and undo that fear, and sometimes cry in frustration in the middle of rehearsal because we're inventing all sorts of new forms as we go.
And I love that your example was crying.
Yeah.
Because that's something that, only women do, right? Or that's a very female thing. So as these women are trying to be women in these male roles, and it's kind of making their head, they're stopping and doing something very feminine and very powerful.
Yes.
For our gender, it's a very powerful thing, right?
Yes.
The salt of the alchemy is what our tears are to create the gold.
Yes.
And men wouldn't stop, my guess is, men wouldn't stop and cry about not being able to get to that place in the middle of your practice.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot more like, well, let's, fix this, let's fix this problem. We have a problem in rehearsal, and all we need to do is fix it. We just need to think about what the components are.
Think about it, right.
Right.
Instead of feel about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or just trust the process.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So along with Shakespeare, are there some other things that you've done in your many decades that have also captured your heart?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot from my partner who's done tons and tons and tons of Shakespeare and cabaret and immersive cabaret, transgressive, burlesque. Not just, I mean, it's been really illuminating to spend so much time around musicians and variety performers,
right.
Because there's this duality that exists, I think, between high art and low art, or high art and low art.
Right.
And
We have low art.
Yes.
We are in a
yes,
low art gallery
yes.
right now. Yep.
And yet, if you go to some fancy gallery in New York, you would see a lot of these kinds of things. I mean, it's all relative. Obviously, there are certain forms.
Peeps.
Yeah, I mean, an artist, I think that artists have to train, but I also think that it's really easy to make judgments about what high art is versus what low art is, and I think they both have equal value. Specific projects that I've done. Yeah, I mean, I've been able to do some film and TV here in this area as well. And I have really enjoyed being, some actors only work in theater or they only work in film and TV, and they don't learn the skills to be able to translate from one form to another. And that has been a lot of fun for me in the past decade, because I sort of took a little bit of a break because I was raising my son.
Yes.
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 So now what? And then, while you were raising your son, is that when you started doing voice work? Because you do some voice.
Well, yes.
You have a studio in your home, right? That you do voice work. Voice over, is that what it's called?
Voiceover.
Voiceover, not voice work.
Well, voice work, voiceover. I mean, you can say both, actually.
Okay, good.
If you said either one in a professional conversation, it would be either one would be appropriate.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
I did it right.
Yes.
And so did you start when you were raising your son?
Well, yes. I didn't really do much voiceover before I had my son, and then I stopped for about 10 years, and then it was 12 years then before I did a play. So for 2 years I did, commercials and some voiceover things, some, whatever I could find. Coming back to becoming an artist it's not like riding a bike. It's really hard work to start from scratch. And and then I wasn't able to find as much voiceover work as I wanted to, so that's happened more and more, I'd say probably in the last 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And I would love to do more because I think it's really fun.
Yeah. I like your little studio and how you've got it all set up. And I thought it was fun. Just, looking at the studio.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So now we have young women watching us, probably not 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit older. And as they're getting along in their career, what are some things stumbling blocks that you came upon that some young women or men, if you're watching, that they might come up against?
In the pathway to becoming an artist?
In the pathway to, you're specifically if there's somebody looking at Shakespeare, or maybe if you had blocks in that.
Yes.
Just so, I think that every woman's passion that I've discussed has had, that woman in her journey has had a place that has kind of been a hard place. So in either your theater work, your production work, or your acting, has there been a place where you felt stuck that you had to get through, like something you had to break through?
Yes. I would say there are quite a few things, but if I had to sort of categorize them, some of it had to do with, I was raised in a very traditional Irish Catholic home, and so I was raised in a way. My dad is an engineer, my mom is, she was a teacher, but then she later went back to graduate school and became a psychologist. But the way that I was raised, I was told that I should maybe minor in theater and major in, something more practical, like teaching or journalism or nursing. And, find a mate or a life partner, a husband, in your second year of college, and sort of there was a pathway.
Right.
There was a code.
Yes. Yes.
That I was given.
Right.
I was given the manual for the code, and I didn't like it, so I burned it. And I joke about that now, actually, with my parents, but I was very strident. So number one is that I had to sort of overcome, I had to be my own person. I really had to fight for my identity and for the thing that was my dream. And I had to be intelligent enough to articulate why it was that I wanted what I wanted. So that was one. And two was the way that my brain works. I have a really high IQ, but I have a learning disability that I learned about while I was in an arts high school. So certain things like memorizing lines, I look at the page and I see two words in a particular order, but somehow inside my brain the words get reversed. So memorizing lines takes me a lot longer, and I have to start early and sort of work my way through. But I learned that on the other hand, the way that my brain is wired neurologically is also an asset, because I am very dreamy, very distractible, very, ADHD. But that allows me to disappear into the character while I'm on stage. So the thing that you think is perhaps a shortcoming of yours, the other side of the very same coin is probably your, an asset.
Your gift.
Your gift.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Those are two big things. And I think the third thing for me, because I have a partner who's also an artist, and we raised a child together, setting everything aside, having the ability to say, no, I need to set this time aside for me, kind of creating a sacred space just to be me. It started with a room in the house. I said, no, you both have to get out of here. I'm hanging up my show posters. I'm getting my own couch, and this is my rehearsal room. But I had to fight with myself to feel worthy of that room.
Nice.
So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I like it. And it leads us into, you answered some of this question. I ask every woman that is in your seat, how has being a woman helped you or hurt you, and your culture of origin? So you did talk about your culture of origin a little bit.
Yes.
So in your field. So
Yes.
as a producer, as an actress, as a theater actress, a film actress, how has being a woman and your culture of origin helped or hurt?
Yes. Well, being a woman, I am the baby and the only girl in my set of siblings from my dad's first marriage. And I'm told that I was always the bossiest. I was always very clear, but I had to fight really hard to be heard and to keep up with them. But there were still things, double standards, that I experienced when I was a little girl and a young woman, and into adulthood. So I had to sort of work with that. So I think it hurt initially, but it also, the metaphor goes that the coral grows most abundantly on the windward side of the reef.
So it's nice that, I like how you phrased that, the coral, what is the saying again?
So the coral grows most abundantly on the windward side of the reef.
Right, so where there's pain, there's growth.
Yes,
right?
and
There's
adversity.
that.
Adversity, pain are I wouldn't change anything in my life, because I want, not that I want more pain or more adversity, because I have certainly overcome my share, but I am grateful for every moment of pain and adversity that I have experienced in my life.
Make you the strong woman that you are today.
Yes.
So, and speaking of today, this is the time that I would love it if you would share with our audience what you're up to here in Seattle during the summer, and what you've got going on, and what your projects are, and how they can find you, and all the things.
Okay. Well, the next thing that I'm doing is going to Los Angeles. I am performing in an all-female Shakespeare piece in the Hollywood Fringe Festival.
Ooh.
Yes, it's called Speak I Will, and there are 8 women. They're women of color, and as well as Caucasian women, who are all assembling, taking apart, say, 10 of Shakespeare's plays, and taking sections of the plays and recontextualizing them together in one new play.
Wow.
The theme of which is women speaking up and speaking out. And they made a short film called Was It Rape Then? That has 46,000 views on Facebook. And the name of the company is Fractured Shakespeare. And it's at the Hollywood Fringe, and the name of the show that we're creating is called Speak I Will. And so I'll be in Los Angeles for the whole month of June. I've just finished an adaptation, sort of a sequel to The Tempest. And we're planning to do a West Coast tour of that. So I don't have any performance dates in Seattle coming up, and I'll probably be making more frequent trips to Los Angeles over the next year, because I want to sort of build a bigger network and be able to work with friends and colleagues down there and do more film and TV. So, yeah.
How can people, how can people find you and help you if you want help, or like how does this work when you're like going from LA to Seattle and you've got one job here and a little job there?
Oh yes, it's your side hustle has a side hustle.
Your side hustle has a side hustle.
Oh, yeah.
A patron.
A patron, yes.
We're looking for a patron.
A patron, yes, that would be fantastic. So I am on Facebook, Colleen Carey, COLLEENCAREY, and I am on Instagram. Those are my 2 main platforms. Instagram is I am Colleen Carey. I will be creating a Patreon account because I'd like to start to create content to offer people, but I haven't set that up as of yet because I'm working with some other collaborators. I am working this month and next to support this Fringe Festival experience, but I've also set up a GoFundMe called Shakespeare in La La Land.
Shakespeare in La La Land. I like it.
So if you want to find the page and donate there, I'll be posting updates and photos of all of these incredible, all-female, diverse LA actors and producers doing Shakespeare and exploring new frontiers.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you
for joining me. I really appreciate it. All this time I was just like, oh, she's so cool. She's so cool.
You are so cool.
I'm not that cool.
You are very cool.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Here's to cool women.
Yes.
Cool women.
Cool.
May you hang out with one. I'm sure you are one.
Because cool women are hot.
It's true.
They make you laugh. Don't spit.